Hello there, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. And this is a paid request for Sean. Thank you so much for that. If you want to request any type of videos, it could be a movie review, a re-review, a topic, a movie news that came out, a reaction, a commentary, a tier list, trying out a video game, Nintendo, PlayStation, whatever, playing a full game, whatever the case. You can request it. PayPal's usually the best bet. I do have a Patreon and a CashApp, because people have asked me about those. And the links are in the info box down there or to the side or wherever YouTube has nowadays. And I will get to it as soon as I can. Thank you. This one is Switching Channels, a 1988 film, which I don't think has a Blu-ray. If it has a DVD, I think it's one of those kind of DVD-R things. Maybe like an archive thing, maybe. And you look at the people involved, it's pretty talented people. You got Ted Kotcheff directing. This is the guy who did First Blood back in 1982 with Sylvester Stallone, which is a classic. A year later, he did Uncommon Valor, which to me is one of the more criminally underrated films of the 80s, where people go back to rescue POWs. You got Gene Hackman, Patrick Swayze, Tim Thomerson, Fred Ward from Tremors, and Remo Williams. You got Randall Tetz-Cobb, you have Robert Stack, you have a fantastic cast, great movie, underrated film. And then after this film, Ted would do Weekend at Bernie's, which I love the first Weekend at Bernie's. Sequel not so much, but I love the first Weekend at Bernie's. It's one of my favorite comedies, I love it. But not only the director, but the cast, you got Burt Reynolds. I mean, rest in peace to Burt. Love him. Smokey and the Bandit, Hooper, among many other films. You have Kathleen Turner, who was on a series of hits with Romancing the Stone and Peggy Sue Got Married, and I think the same year she voiced Jessica Rabbit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So she voiced that character in a huge hit in the same year as this. You have Christopher Reeve, of course, from the first four Superman movies. Ned Beatty's in the film, who had worked with Burt Reynolds on films like Deliverance and White Lightning, among others. The guy who plays the governor, I don't remember his name, but I know he was one of the actors on Murphy Brown, which is kind of ironic since they're both dealing with comedies involving the news. Henry Gibson is in the film. If you remember the Joe Dante film The Burbs, which is my favorite Tom Hanks film, the weird neighbors, the Klopeks, the head guy of that is Henry Gibson, and he's in this film. So you have some talented people involved, and that's what's so weird, because they made such a forgettable, unfunny comedy. And that's really what this is. It's the plot. It's satellite news network in Chicago, a cable news network. Burt Reynolds is kind of the boss of the group. He doesn't own the place, but he's the boss. Kathleen Turner is a reporter, who's also the ex-wife of Burt Reynolds. She's reporting, she's cracked up a bit, she goes on vacation, she meets Christopher Reeve, who seems like a nice guy, owns sporting goods stores. After the vacation, she brings Christopher Reeve back, and she says it's going to be her last day, and she's going to be going off with Christopher Reeve and living the good life. Burt, I guess his character still likes his ex-wife, so he's trying to find ways for her to stay. So like he'll get people to call and take every bus ticket and every train ticket, every plane ticket, get them all so she can't leave. Brian, you think, I don't know, with how supposedly rich Christopher Reeve is, you just get a car, or rent a car, whatever, get the hell out, but, you know, it's a movie. Anyway, meanwhile this is all happening, Henry Gibson plays this guy who is in jail for killing a cop, but the cop was a drug dealer as well, and trying to stop this execution that's going to happen. Ned Beatty is a guy trying to run for governor who has a very strict plan for enforcement of executions and the judicial system, while the actual governor is a bit more loose on that. So they're trying to stop that execution while these hijinks happen in this cable network. And I'm stumbling over the plot because the plot isn't really much home to talk about. The comedy isn't really much home to run home and talk about. I know this is based on the play The Front Page, which they did a lot of iterations of, including Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau did a movie years before this called The Front Page. So yes, I know it's based on a play. But I damn well know the reason this film got made is the year before you had a film called Broadcast News, which was very popular at the time. It had William Hurt, it had Albert Brooks, it was a very big hit, and it got a lot of Oscar nominations. I don't know if it won any, but it got a lot of nominations, including Best Picture. And for I saw bits and pieces of that a long time ago. That one was a bit more of a subtle movie, while this one's much more of a farce. But I guarantee you the success of that is the reason why this film got greenlit and tried to push into the forefront to get into theaters. Because we had to capitalize. So this comes out a year later. But then when people see this, they compare it to Broadcast News, and they compare it unfavorably, and so this film bombed. Critics hated it. And I can kind of see why. Probably the big thing to come out of this is that apparently Burt Reynolds and Kathleen Turner hated each other. Kathleen Turner would tell the story about how Burt did not want to be second fiddle to a lady, and because she got top billing over Burt, and that he made her cry. And many, many years later, Burt Reynolds, you can find this interview, I forget who the interviewer is, but the guy asked him, who do you think is the most overrated actor of your generation? And he said Kathleen Turner. So obviously, time has now did warm him up to her, and vice versa. So, and apparently Christopher Reeve, he had to be the referee between these two. And then Christopher Reeve, he said he really did not like making the film in terms of he thinks the only reason he got the job was because there's a joke where the character is afraid of heights and he gets stuck in an elevator. As like, oh hey, how about Superman? He's afraid of heights. And he thought Michael Caine was going to star in this, because Michael Caine was going to star. And you know what? It probably would have been better with Michael Caine. Because Michael Caine seems like a better fit for this role. I don't think Burt Reynolds was the best fit. I thought he was miscast. Michael Caine probably would have made this a lot better. Because I just see Michael Caine in this role fitting within this world. And Christopher Reeve had worked with Michael Caine on, was it Death Trap, I think it was called. He liked working with him, so he wanted to work with him again, but that wasn't the case. Now, do I think this is the worst film ever? Far from it. The novelty, it was nice to see all these actors who are no longer with us, like Burt Reynolds, Christopher Reeve, Ned Beatty. I mean, a lot of these people are long gone, so it was nice to see something that I'd never seen before and see these guys work. I do like the setting of a cable news network. I just think there's a lot more satire, there's a lot more wit that you really get out of it, and they really didn't. I mean, the setting at times are almost a non sequitur at times. And it's trying to be like the old school comedies where it's trying to have some snappy dialogue back and forth, but Burt Reynolds and Kathleen Turner had no chemistry because they hated each other. Or at least Burt hated her. So they had no chemistry. They had no spark. And Burt Reynolds is such a dick to Christopher Reeve, who by this point seems like such a nice guy, that you're sitting there going, why should we root for Burt Reynolds? I mean, I don't know, Burt, I love Burt, but he just seems so miscast in this movie. Because he's a last minute addition. it's almost like I could tell he didn't want to be there, and I don't know, he didn't feel like comfortable. I don't know, just something was off about him, and I just it's one of the performances that I thought was to a lesser degree from Burt, at least in my opinion. And like I said, the dialogue between those two, him and Kathleen Turner, it's like, oh, he's in athletics equipment. Well, that should make for some snappy pillow talk. And then she goes, I'm going to marry a decent human being. That's going to be a weird adjustment. Which was kind of funny to me, the way she said. I think Kathleen Turner's doing the best she can. Christopher Reeve, I mean, it's a different kind of role. I wouldn't say I got a laugh out of him, but I got kind of a smirk of just seeing him play a different type compared to Superman and other roles. So, and he's not even playing like a smarmy, cocky guy. He's just kind of playing a nice guy who, enjoys different things than other people do. But like they go to a bar, all three of them, a restaurant, and he orders a more sophisticated dinner. But he's not like being a dick about it or anything. It's just he likes different things. And like I said, the jokes are Bert ordering his other co-workers to buy up all the tickets, or again, Christopher Reeve getting stuck on an elevator and freaking out. And then the whole third act is just they talk to the governor. He's going to have a pardon. Because Kathleen Turner goes to see Henry Gibson, interviews him, gets the word out there of who he is and what happened. A lot of people call the governor saying, if you don't pardon this guy, then you won't get my vote. Granted, that's not really, I don't think that's how it works in the real world. That, random people could just call and go, don't kill that guy. But, I mean, it's a movie. It's just a movie. But still, I'm like, okay, that's how easy it is? Alright. So the governor's like, yeah, I'm going to pardon him. Now, why the pardon has to be at 10 and not right now, I don't know. Like, why does the pardon have to be at 10? Why can't it be as soon as you call? I don't know. Because we have to have a timeline. Because then, no, the pardon's at 11. The pardon's going to be at 11 because Ned Beatty hears it and says, I'm going to put the execution till 10. But at the same time, how is it the governor called one group and then they didn't get the word that there was a pardon so that Ned Beatty could just move it up even though he's not the current governor? So how does he have that power? Or was he the warden maybe? I'm sorry, I'm sure my questions are answered easily, but to me, I lost the hell out of I didn't give a shit, honestly. I got to a point where I did not care, and I was literally pausing the film, going up, taking the piss, leaving the piss, watching the film again, getting bored, pausing, getting a can of Mellow Yellow or 7-Up. I was just so disinterested in what was going on. I'm sure these plot points are easily explained, and I just didn't give a rat's ass. To be honest, I didn't give a rat's ass, a mouse's ass, a cat's ass, a dog's ass, a giraffe's ass, or a raccoon's ass from Great Outdoors. I did not care one bit. Because, again, I was disappointed because the cast you have, I'm expecting a ride, or I'm expecting, like, a film that I thought did that kind of snappy dialogue better was not Beloved, but Oscar with Sylvester Stallone. I thought did that better. This, the pardon's at 11, they moved the execution to 10, there's a power outage, Harry Gibson, spoiler alert, sorry, spoilers, Harry Gibson escapes, gets to Kathleen Turner, she hides him in the newsroom, and then the whole third act is the cops looking for Henry Gibson hiding in these tight spaces, Kathleen Turner, and like Burt Reynolds is gone for like 10-15 minutes of the film, and he pops in, they tell him go over there, they try to get him out, they're in this like copy machine, They're finally told, oh, yeah, there was a pardon. Henry Gibson is free. Christopher Reeve. We have to establish at this point he's a dick. So now he's like, oh, who cares? Come on, let's go. Let's leave. What are you waiting for? Let's leave. And then Reeve actually dumps her. Says, I hope you'll understand. I didn't. Christopher Reeve, like, he's trying, and I'm getting kind of a smirk out of him. Maybe I just missed the actor. And it's like, be very serious. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to let you go. And Kathy Too's like, oh, okay. No, I know you'll take it hard, but I hope you understand one day. So I got a few like smirks out of that, but yeah, I think it's just because I like the actors. And then Burt Reynolds and Kathy Turd get back together, which I'm sitting there going, no, you two don't have the sparks, and there are many times where they're separated, they're not on screen together, so it's not like this consistent, the two of them are together and you see ebb and flow. Like Romancing the Stone, when those two, Michael Douglas and Kathleen, do get together, then they're pretty much together for the rest of the film. There are, the little spots here and there that they're not, but for the most part, here it's not really the case. And probably because they were fighting so much with each other, that's why they're a good chunk of the film they're separated. And obviously Burt can't ask him what happened. I'm just going to assume this. Burt Reynolds, I think, was a prideful guy. I think he's a prideful guy that he was looked at for the longest time as the number one guy on the call sheet, the number one star, the number one, the star of the film. And the fact that, this lady that he obviously was not a fan of is top billing over him, that I guess he didn't think was talented. I thought Kathleen Turner's talented. A lot of people did. I mean, she got an Oscar nomination for, what was it, Peggy Sue? I think it was. Or Prizzi's Honor. One of them. But Burt, I'm sorry, Burt. I mean, I'm talking to you. I'm sorry, man. But it made sense why she got top billing. Because you looked at her recent track record, Romancing the Stone, in like 84 or so, was a big hit. Surprise hit. Saved Robert Zemeckis' career, because Robert Zemeckis had flop after flop, whether writing a film or stuff, and then that led him to get Back to the Future, and then led him to do Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and then led him to do Forrest Gump, Castaway, all the other stuff. So Romancing the Stone's a hit. Peggy Sue Got Married was a hit. And I think she got an Oscar nomination for that. I could be wrong. But Peggy Sue Got Married was a hit. Prizzi's Honor, I don't know if that was a hit. That was with Jack Nicholson. But it did get accolades. It did get a lot of critical buzz. It got good reviews. And maybe some nominations. Don't quote me on that. Even Jewel of the Nile, the sequel to Romancing the Stone, it wasn't as big of a hit, but it was a hit. It still made money. And then now she's going to be voicing a character, and the new Robert Zemeckis, director for Back to the Future, Steven Spielberg producing, summer blockbuster Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Oh, well, this girl, she's having all these hits. She was doing better than you, Burt, because I looked at you and your filmography, a recent Malone. Okay, City Heat with Clint Eastwood flopped. Wasn't that good of a movie, Sally. Very disappointing. So City Heat flopped. Malone, for those who remember Malone, that flopped. Heat, which they kind of remade for that Jason Statham film, Wild Card or something. Heat, Sally, I wasn't big on. I love the Michael Mann Heat, but this is very different. So, City Heat, Malone, Heat, Rent-A-Cop with Liza Minnelli, that bombed. So you had bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb. Do they go with the person who's had a bunch of hits and nominated for an Oscar? Or do they go with the guy who's had a series of bombs? And even like Christopher Reeve, like he had a series of bombs. Like in a way, this era was bad for him and kind of killed his career to the point of. Because Superman 4 was a flop. That film he was adamant about, Street Smart, that didn't do well. Except Morgan Freeman, I think he was nominated for an Oscar, but Christopher Reeve didn't get anything, and he was the star. So Superman 4 was a flop, Street Smart didn't do anything, this film did not do anything. He did another film among this, like, aviation, old-fashioned movie, that didn't do well. And then that's why you would see him in films like Village of the Damned, John Carpenter, which I think he did a good job in that. I actually don't mind that film. I have issues with it, but I don't hate it like other people do. But I liked Village of the Damned for what it is. It's not my favorite John Carpenter film, but Christopher Reeve I thought did a really good job in that. But again, that's just me. So yeah, I didn't think the film was that funny. I'm sorry, Bert. Kathleen Turner, she wasn't great in it, but she was doing a better job than Bert. Bert, I just thought he was miscast. He did not fit. He didn't feel comfortable. Again, no sparks with your two leads. Wasn't like Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner Remains in the Stone. Far from it. Supporting cast, not really much to run home about. Ned Beatty does fine. He's good playing a slimy character, so he was good in it. Henry Gibson, he did fine as a prisoner who he just had some bad luck, or however you want to put it. Again, it's more of a interesting novelty to see these actors in one film than a successful venture. Like I said, it's not that funny, it's not that witty, there's not a lot of satire about the cable, the news circuit. The third act, really uninteresting. Yeah, I thought this was... Because I had heard of this film for a while, so when I got the request, I'm like, oh, okay. There's another one off the bucket list to watch. And then, kind of just disappointing with the talent. Just disappointing, pretty blasé film. At least in my opinion. But with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.